Roller coasters are huge thrilling rides that provide joy to many, and I've had the chance to ride 238 different ones in my lifetime. Most people have top 10s and maybe top 25s, but I'm going to take this to the next level. So here are my top 50 roller coasters. Number 50, Manta at SeaWorld Orlando. A really fun flying coaster with great scenery. Number 49, Intimidator at Carowinds. This is a graceful hypercoaster with some underrated airtime moments. Number 48, Incredible Hulk, Universal's Islands of Adventure. Has a punchy launch and 7 forceful inversions. Number 47, Switchback at CDT's Amusement Park. A shocking drop in tons of airtime, taking both forwards and backwards. Number 46, The Legend at Holiday World. While many love the laterals, it's a little too sustained, but the other moments are great. Number 45, Prowler at Worlds of Fun. Provides everything expected from a GTI with floater airtime, laterals, and great pacing. Number 44, Superman Krypton Coaster, Fiesta Texas. A great coaster that is amplified by the awesome interactions with the quarry wall. Number 43, Thunderbird at Holiday World. Easily the best wing coaster with a surprising launch and some good whip. Number 42, Superman Ride of Steel at Six Flags Great America. This ride has some great airtime moments and positives, but also has some dead spots, especially the straight track. Number 41, Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. While the launch isn't intense, the rest of the ride offers plenty of variety with great moments throughout. Number 40, Pipeline at SeaWorld Orlando. Fun coaster with some really unique sensations of airtime as the seats move with the forces. Number 39, Candemonium at Hershey Park. Great hyper with sustained airtime, although the second half is weakened by trims. Number 38, Orion at Kings Island. The drop will fling you into space and the hills that follow have great airtime, but a few turns kill the pacing. Number 37, Afterburn at Carowinds. This coaster doesn't let up until the end, and the Batwing always delivers. Number 36, Raptor at Cedar Point. A great invert with arguably a better second half than the first. Number 35, Goliath at Six Flags Great America. While Goliath is a short ride, it packs a punch with plenty of hang and airtime. Number 34, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Universal's Islands of Adventure. While the ride itself is good, the thematic effects and story make this coaster worth the long waits. Number 33, Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. While many criticize the awkward transitions, I appreciate what the rest of the ride has to offer, which is mostly sheer intensity. Number 32, Raging Bull at Six Flags Great America. The layout may be different from every other hyper, but it still delivers airtime and even mixes in other forces. Number 31, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast at Six Flags St. Louis. The backwards launch and top hat are both insanity, while the spike with boosters gives amazing weightlessness. Number 30, Storm Runner at Hershey Park. Most hydraulic launches are great, and this one is no different, and the layout that follows provides a multitude of great moments on this coaster. Number 29, Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point. While the restraints can sit in an uncomfortable position on your thighs for the triangle hills, the airtime you get is world class. Number 28, Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom. This coaster is a standard RMC with lots of airtime, but the second half takes ejector to the next level. Number 27, Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. This coaster might have just had the best launch in the world, especially with the minimalistic lap bars. And number 26, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This coaster has hill after hill of airtime, and even mixes in positives on a few turnarounds. This GCI may look standard at first, but the main reason it's so high is the airtime. The coaster has many moments of negative G-forces, especially in the middle portion of the ride. The second half is great as well, but it is much better towards the front of the train, as many of the hills are step-ups that are taken decently slow in the back. Millennium Force might not have the airtime of an RMC or forces of a classic B&M, but it still packs in lots of different elements and an amazing drop into its almost 6,000 feet of track. Millie also adds a scenic view of both Cedar Point and Lake Erie, so combined with some of the low-to-the-ground turns through Frontier Town and Millennium Island. This ride is undoubtedly the best B&M invert in my opinion, as it contains many intense inversions, including the incredible Batwing. While many other inverted coasters let up after the mid-course, Montu stays strong with 3 more intense inversions to cap off a headlining coaster from Busch Gardens Tampa. Lightning Rod used to be a contender for my number 1, but the ride has gradually gotten much slower over the years. Even so, the coaster has still had a great launch with a kick to it, and many amazing airtime moments in the second half of the ride, especially the legendary Quad Down. Mystic Timbers is a fantastic ride that follows an out-and-back layout rather than the traditional twister model that GCI often uses, which makes for many Flowjector airtime moments in a row. While the shed may be a disappointment to some, the rest of the coaster well enough makes up for it, with many airtime moments like I mentioned, and a lot of lateral-filled turns. Time Traveler doesn't specialize in one category of forces, but rather contains many different sensations that combine into an incredible attraction. The spinning allows for a different ride every time, with airtime taken in many different ways, as well as the inversions. The launches aren't the best, but the rest of the ride is good enough. The prototype Raptor may be fairly rough, but it still delivers a very intense ride with whippy inversions and airtime throughout. The restraints could use improvement, but the park is planning to replace them early next year to make for a better ride experience. The whip on the inversions is also really good, and if you've seen an off-ride video of the coaster, you know that the pacing is insane. Thunderhead is a fun coaster that has recently skyrocketed in many enthusiast rankings, including myself, mainly due to the recent retracking, which makes for a more enjoyable ride and allows you to experience the full power of the airtime that was there. Fahrenheit looks like an odd coaster on paper, but once on the ride it feels like any other Blitz coaster, mixing intense inversions and transitions with a crazy beyond vertical drop. The corkscrews at the end of the ride are a perfect way to cap off this amazing Intamin coaster. Widely regarded as one of the most intense coasters in the nation, Intimidator 305 is a very chaotic ride with very forceful transitions and a wild pullout from the turn and from the drop, almost guaranteeing a crowd on every ride. Twisted Timbers is a very deceiving ride as it seems like a small and weak RMC, but it has very powerful airtime moments, such as the Trick Track Double Up. The barrel roll drop also gives a surprising amount of airtime and whip for its size. Mako is one of the best B&M hypers, with plentiful airtime throughout that is also very sustained. The second half is low to the ground but also features some quick pops of airtime. Overall, this coaster doesn't stand out from the rest of hypers, but rather has the most airtime out of almost all of them. This ride is a showcase of RMC's greatness, with untraditional airtime throughout, but the inversions end up being the best parts. The first overbank provides great whip, and the double barrel roll finale combines both whip on the first roll and hang time on the second, and is a perfect finale for all the greatness that is Outlaw Run. This coaster has many great moments, with the obvious headliner being the backward spike, but there are some other elements like the backwards hill and zero-G winder that fly under the radar. The Intamin trains are super comfortable and allow for an open ride experience on this coaster. Diamondback is the best B&M hyper in my opinion, with airtime hills galore and staggered seating that allows for plenty of whip on both the drop and floater hills. Along with that, the coaster contains variety with helixes that give off positives and a splashdown, but the airtime is the main draw after all. Starting off the top 10 is a powerhouse RMC that dives off a quarry wall. The drops into the quarry provide great airtime, and the zero-G roll is very floaty. While the hills in the quarry can be lackluster, the final drop and turn through the wall makes up for it. The Gerstlauer trains are also very comfortable, so the powerful airtime can be taken comfortably. While I always had a strange love for the original Wildcat, I can't deny that Hershey made the right decision to get a crazy RMC, with many ejector moments and a lateral-filled double down. The inversions also deliver on the coaster with 3 quick zero-G rolls, including the underflip, and a sustained moment of hang time with the stall. Maverick doesn't have insane stats, but it almost makes the ride better, as the beyond vertical drop is super tight and intense. Midway through the ride, the tunnel launch is very forceful and catches riders off guard. The rest of the ride contains quick transitions that are great, but the surprising airtime moments elevate this coaster a large amount in the rankings. Skyrush is a hot topic in the coaster community, and while many criticize the uncomfortable lap bars, I don't mind them much. The airtime on the first drop is immaculate, and the hills that follow will try to violently eject the riders. The turns are also underrated as they give great positives, and while the ending of the ride is a bit weak, the rest of the ride is so good that it doesn't matter. Fury has many things going for it, but the obvious main one is speed. This Giga has incredible pacing through its low turns, and even on the larger hills it stays going through the course quite quickly. The coaster also has an incredible drop in many good moments of airtime, including the treble clef, which gives a weird feeling of sideways airtime. Voyage is my personal number one wooden coaster, and a big reason is that it is relentless. The only real time to breathe is the mid-course, which is barely enough time to comprehend the rest of the ride, which is composed mostly of airtime hills and intense turns through a wooded setting. Night rides on this coaster look wild, possibly even better than the Beast or Outlaw Run, but I haven't been able to get one yet at Hollywood Nights. This coaster was almost everyone's number one at a point in time, but better and newer coasters have emerged. Nevertheless, Steve still has a lot going for it, including the insane quantity of airtime hills which all deliver. The inversions also have great whips such as the Staller first roll, and the Outer Banks are incredible moments of ejector. Area is very similar to Steel Vengeance, where most of the ride focuses on airtime, but this coaster has much more variety, from the inversions to the hills themselves. The Raven Trust Dive might be the best RMC turnaround, and the stall certainly doesn't disappoint. The other two inversions are very forceful, but the airtime is what makes this ride so good. This attraction has hill after hill of madness, and caps off an already world-class coaster with the legendary Quad Down. Velocicoaster is the most well-rounded coaster on the list, delivering both incredible thrills and a huge amount of theming, both in the queue and on the ride itself. The coaster contains 2 forceful launches and 4 incredible inversions which all give different forces. The middle of the ride has a bit of dead time, but the second half is pure insanity, with the airtime-filled top hat followed by many airtime moments, capped off by the wicked Mosasaurus roll. Taking number 1 for the second straight year in a row, Iron Gwazi is an elite coaster that has everything, including airtime galore. The inversions are also a key feature of the ride, with the death roll being the headlining element, and the stall is a great element that takes a break from airtime. While the ride isn't Steel Vengeance length, it lasts long enough where you're not asking for more. Overall, this coaster is world class and might stick on to number 1 for many more years, unless a coaster like Ride to Happiness tries to overtake it. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, then please consider subscribing. It's completely free and supports the channel a lot. Huge shout out to the winner of the Guess My Top 10 contest, Hangtime Enthusiast. Make sure to go check out his channel using the link in the description. This is Zero G Coaster signing out. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next train.